Now I'm going to talk about South Africa versus Australia second semi-final. So before talking about the final results, let's discuss about the team combination, captain and coach horoscope. So if you look at the both teams, you'll find lots of similarity between these two teams, especially in the team combination. In Australia team, some of their top player born in 1980s, late 80s, and some of their player born in early 90s, and some of their player also born even in the late 90s. In case of South Africa, almost scenario is same. Some of their very top player born in late 80s, especially 88, 89 especially, and they are some of their player born in early 90s. So the team combination is almost looking very similar. But if you observe the last 2 or 3 months, you will find a very interesting factor that the Australian player who are actually born in the late 80s, 88 or 89, they performed superb in the last 2 matches, especially against Bangladesh and Afghanistan. Like Maxwell played a fantastic innings, destructive innings against Afghanistan, and he is 1988 born. And also Mitchell Marsh played a superb knock against Bangladesh, which is also a very fabulous innings. And these two players they utilized their huge planetary power in the last 2 matches, which is not a good news for Australia. So that means they cannot utilize their planetary power just like this in the next match, in the semi-final. So there is a possibility that Maxwell and the Mitchell Marsh, they maybe fail to score a good innings, or they maybe perform poor compared to last match. So that is a weak negative factor for Australia and good news for South Africa. But if you look at the South Africa, even the player like David Miller, even Reece van der Russen, even player like Hendricks, they all were born in the 89, but still they have lots of planetary power, and they did not utilize this power in the last couple of matches. So they're actually waiting for perform something blast. So just focus on this player. They can play superb against Australia in the semi-final. So all this late 80s born player have Neptune very powerful, and 2 of the Australian player already utilized their planetary power in the last 2 matches. But South African player is still looking for something significant. So in that case, South Africa has some advantage and Australia has some leakage. And if you also look at the captain horoscope, Tenda Bauma born in 1990s and Pat Cummins born in 1993. If you compare the both horoscope, definitely Tenda Bauma got a decent horoscope because he born in the exactly 1990s. On the other hand, Pat Cummins born in 1993. He also got a very decent horoscope. So between these two captains, till date, Tenda Bauma didn't achieve anything significant. He didn't own any even significant trophy in the last few years. But if you look at the Pat Cummins, he already won a Test championships against India in the last year. So he already utilized some of his planetary power in the last couple of years. And he actually waiting for even something big in the near future. But in this World Cups, his horoscope is looking somehow weak against South Africa, especially against South Africa. So between the Tenda Bauma and the Pat Cummins, definitely Tenda Bauma has some advantage astrologically because his horoscope very powerful, and till date he didn't utilize his planetary power significantly. And in this World Cup, actually Tenda Bauma is till date is that out of form. So I think he actually waiting for something big, especially in the semi-final and the final. And now talk about the coach horoscope. Both coach, Andrew McDonald's and the Rob Walter both got a decent horoscope. Especially Australian coach got a fantastic horoscope. He born in the 1981, which is a very powerful year. On the other hand, the South African coach also got a decent horoscope. He born in 1975. But personally, I think Andrew McDonald is still very young, and he cannot win a World Cups, or he cannot win a very that significant tournament, or can reach the final with this horoscope because he's very young till date. Probably he's not favorable for in this World Cup, maybe for the next World Cups or next any big tournament. But on the other hand, if you look at the South African coach, he won in the 1975. he's very, very powerful here. And I think Walter has some advantage astrologically this time. So because he is 75 ball, and a coach born in the early 70s actually destined to win World Cups or destined to reach final. So in that case, I will give favor to the Rob Walter, and Andrew McDonald is very, very young, so I don't think that he can make a great impact in this match astrologically. Yes, he will make an impact in the near future, but not this time. So even from the coach perspective, I think South Africa has some advantage. So if you comes to the team combination, even captain horoscope, coach horoscope, I think South Africa looking favorable. South Africa looking astrologically very strong in this match. So there's a big possibility that South Africa will win this match. Yes, Australia can also win this match because sometimes you know that a team who is astrologically weak can reach the semi-final, so that the other teams can be benefited from the planetary power. For example, if India is destined to win this World Cup, in that case, even Australia can reach the final, or they can play against India. And if India or South Africa, any of the teams are destined to win these World Cups, and in that case, even South Africa can reach the final. So there's a possibility that even South Africa and India played final against each other, and the final can be a very, very historic like football World Cup final. But till date, I think that South Africa has some advantage, and they can win against Australia, and probably the India versus South Africa will be the probable final. And I personally think this will be a historic final if India play against South Africa in the final. But if Australia reach the final, in that case, probably India will win this match very easily. So till that, wait for the result, and thank you all.